はい、こんにちはたぴです。今回はスイッチモバイルで上達する方法の動画を和訳してきました。動画の前に一つお願いです。僕の動画を見てくれている人のほとんどが未登録です。これからもどんどん動画を上げていくのでぜひチャンネル登録お願いします。あと、Twitter もやっています。タピ YouTube か概要欄のリンクから飛べるのでぜひフォローしてください。フォロワー増やしていきたいのでフォローしてくれたら嬉しいです。というわけで本編です。どうぞ。
So the first step to improving on a platform like mobile or Switch, where you have major disadvantages, is to actually understand these disadvantages so you can try and work around them. You know, for mobile and Switch, the concern is usually FPS. Switch players typically, hover around 30 FPS, and mobile gets between like 30 and 60 most of the time, with 120 being possible on higher-end devices. Knowing that your FPS is pretty low, you can tell ahead of time that your reaction time will be slower. Your builds and edits will also have, to be done slowly instead of, the insane edits you might see from PC players. And you'll probably have more input lag on top of all of this. Another potential disadvantage is the fact that on mobile, your entire game is controlled by a touchscreen. My goodness. You have to press the buttons on your actual screen to perform the actions, which may slow you down if you don't know what you're doing. But, okay, don't worry. We'll get into the solution for that in a bit. Okay, guys, so let's discuss the solution to low FPS. Low FPS, man, is pretty much inevitable on any lower-end platform like Switch or mobile. So it's just something we have to work around. What I recommend doing is to focus on playing slower in a way. Okay, you probably won't be able to crank, fade, sway, retakes, the height limit, or pull off a 0.01 second mongrel classic on 30 FPS. As cool as that would be, that's just not gonna happen. I'm really sorry. Instead, maintain control over all your edits. Don't be afraid to perform them, a bit slower, just to make sure they go through to the servers. The same goes for building. Also, on low FPS, you're not going to be able to just simply flick around and just box up the instant someone shoots in your direction in the actual game. Instead, make sure to have situational awareness everywhere you go. Look around in every direction, make sure the coast is clear so that you can avoid getting snuck up on. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about practice. That thing we all know and love. With the major disadvantages you'll run into when playing on lower-end devices, you're gonna have to focus on practicing, man, efficiently and working around those disadvantages.
Bro, can I shoot it? Oh. What is his position? There's no way.
Contrary to what most people think, it doesn't necessarily take more practice than it would on PC or console in order to get good at a lower-end device. In fact, it actually may be the opposite. Instead, it takes more specific practice. Basically, instead of just spending a ton of time, trying to do the same, insane mechanical stuff that you see all the pros doing, what you want to instead focus on is, the easier and simpler, techniques that are realistic for you to perform on your device. Then, given some time, you're going to be able to learn the harder stuff after getting your fundamentals down, right? That's the key. Fundamentals. So think of your skill as a skyscraper. Sure, skyscrapers are really, really cool. They are. I love them. But there's just one thing that they all need, and that's a strong foundation. Okay, so without a strong foundation, man, the skyscraper will just collapse. So you gotta try to focus initially on building up that solid foundation. So the skyscraper you build, which is the advanced techniques you end up learning, come easier to you. So that means taking the simpler techniques first, like double edits, cone jumps, peanut butters, mongrel classics, and other stuff that most people consider easy, and just practicing them over and over and over again until you have it mastered. Then you can just use these techniques as a foundation to learn more advanced stuff. You get it? On Switch and mobile, learning these advanced techniques takes a much stronger foundation. And it's not like you can just simply hop into it. So you got to take your time, okay? Build that strong foundation, guys. You can do it. I believe in you. And then practice the hard stuff. Okay, so one quick tip for you mobile players out there is try using the claw grip. So the claw grip is something we covered in another video, our solo FNCS guide, but I want to go over it one more time for you mobile folks, okay? Because if you do it correctly, then this can absolutely bring your game to the next level. The claw grip basically consists of having more fingers on your screen so you can just perform more actions at the same time. Instead of just playing with 2 fingers like most of us, top mobile players often use 4, 6, or sometimes even 8 fingers. This allows them to perform more actions at once. And honestly, if you haven't done it yet, this will absolutely bring your skill to the next level. To learn claw, just head into creative and just force yourself to use it. It's gonna be uncomfortable at first, for sure. But, even after a while, but just got to give it some time, all right? You'll get used to it, and then you'll improve, a ton. Almost every top mobile player uses claw, and really it's no wonder why. Another helpful tip, guys, is to make sure you optimize your HUD and button layout so that you can not only see everything, but also make it so that you can perform each important action like jumping, building, editing, you get it, without having to move your hands a ton. The claw grip and optimized HUD are both, some of the biggest things that separate the best mobile players, from the rest in terms of mechanics. Next, guys, is really a simple yet effective tip, all right? And that's to learn from better players. Whether you have a really skilled friend you like to play with and you can just help out, or it can help you out, or even if you watch some pro mobile or Switch players, you can just really learn a lot from simply really just watching them play and taking notes. Honestly, there's so much to learn from pros and skilled players that you can just easily pick up, some simple, cool stuff by just watching them. So, whichever platform you play on, find some pros that you can just watch to learn from. Watch for their strategies, man, mechanical tricks, and anything else that you can think of, all right? And try to utilize their tricks in your gameplay. One important thing to note, guys, is that you shouldn't just copy someone's playstyle or what they do. Instead, this is what you got to do, all right? You got to learn from what they do. Yeah, you got to try out some aspects of it. You got to find out what works in your own playstyle. You just can't just be a complete copycat. You're not a robot. Finally, guys, the last tip in this video is to play against PC and console players and 1v1 zone wars or any other methods of practice to improve. The reason for this is that, that forced crossplay is a really big thing in Fortnite, and keeping up with the other platforms, it is so important. The thing is, you need to learn and adapt to the more aggressive and fast strategies people use on other platforms. Most decent PC players can do more advanced stuff like retakes, Mongo classics, and so much more, So practicing against these PC and console players who, can usually do stuff faster. It's just a great way to get used to it and perform better against them in game. So try to take some time and practice against more aggressive, faster players, especially those on platforms. So you can just adapt, to their play styles and really just perform better. Okay, guys, so that's going to be it for the tips, but let's do a quick recap for everything we talked about. You guys ready? Here we go. Hope you're pumped up. Let's do it. First up, make sure to understand your disadvantages and focus on practicing around them. Okay, so one of these big disadvantages is the low FPS. Whew. For low FPS players, listen, it's important to focus on being precise and taking it a bit slower because your mechanics will be slightly more limited. Try to take your time with everything that you do, okay? And make sure it goes through to the servers. Avoid doing the insane mechanical stuff until you really reach that level, okay? In terms of practice, try to practice the basic fundamentals more before you start to advance into the difficult stuff. Make sure you're 100% confident, man, with the foundational stuff before you start to get more advanced, because this is just going to make you so much more consistent and a better overall player. You got it? Okay. For mobile players, what's up, guys? Try using the claw grip to maximize the amount of actions that you can perform at once. If you're on Switch, you can use claw as well if you have a pro controller in a similar, fashion to controller players on PS4 and Xbox. Overall, man, claw allows you to do more at once. So similar to, how the top controller players and most keyboard and mouse players can. Finally, the last tip is to practice against PC and console players or very mechanical players on mobile and Switch. This is going to allow you to learn and adapt to the unique, fast-paced, play style that players on the other platforms often use, man. So, as good as, playing against other mobile and Switch players around your skill level can be, I get it, you're going to succeed the most in actual games by practicing, against the hardest players, all right? Especially with forced crossplay. It's even more important to learn and adapt to the strategies these players use.
というわけで、いかがだったでしょうか。僕も昔モバイルやスイッチでプレイしていたのでわかりますが、低い FPS って辛いですよね。ですがこの動画がその上で上達する手助けとなれば幸いです。というわけで、動画の時間を10分にしたいので最後にクリップを流します。このように僕と対マンしたい人は Discord サーバーでたまに募集しているのでぜひ参加してね。サーバーは僕の Twitter のプロフィールにあるリンクから参加できるよ。というわけで最後にプレイ映像をお楽しみください。Work it like a Vegas stripper, darling.